The meeting will now reconvene at 6:10 p.m. City Attorney, will you please provide the closed session report?
Thank you, Mayor, members of the City Council. The City Council is now back in open session, having met in closed session to discuss the item listed on the agenda. Staff provided a report, but there was no reportable action taken. This concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you. If there's no objection by the City Council, I will go ahead and adjourn closed session, City Council meeting at 6:10 p.m. Good evening and welcome to the Monday, February 27, 2023, 6 p.m. regular joint meeting of the Bell Gardens City Council and successor agency to the Community Development Commission. The meeting will now come to order at 6:10 p.m. Pursuant to Assembly Bill 361, please be advised that members of the Bell Gardens City Council and successor agency may participate in today's meeting telephonically. Members of the public may view and listen to the meeting live online through the city's website as noted on the agenda. If any of the members should have any conflict of interest, please announce any item you're recusing from due to a conflict of interest prior to the item being heard. Tonight's invocation will be given by Pastor Reynaldo Leal, and the Pledge of Allegiance will be led by Girl Scouts Troop 2543.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, and the councilmen and councilwomen, our city manager, our police chief, and all the officers that are here, also our citizens. It's always a blessing to be here. The Bible said, blessed is the nation whose Lord is our God. Not only a nation, but a city like our city of Bell Gardens. So let us pray. And remember, as we pray, we come into the presence of God. I'm going to ask you to please bow your heads and let us pray. Father, we want to thank you for this night in times of trouble and times of need. You are our great helper. You are our Lord. And Father, we put before you our leaders. May this meeting be guided by your Spirit and by your grace. May everything that is done, it will be for your glory and for the good of our citizens. We ask this in the precious name of Jesus. Can we say amen? Thank you.
Please stand. Face the flag. Put your right hand over your heart. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You may now be seated.
City Clerk, can you please call roll of the members of the City Council and successor agency?
Yes, thank you. Members of the council and successor agency, Barcena. Councilmember Chavez.
Present.
Councilwoman Pulido.
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem and Vice Chair Sanchez.
Present.
And Mayor and Chair Cortez.
Present.
Thank you.
We'll now begin and move with our presentation. City Manager, can you please introduce the presentations?
Yes, thank you, Mayor Cortez. I'll turn it over to our police chief, Scott Fairfield, to introduce the Community Police Academy graduates that we have here with us today.
Thank you very much, Mr. City Manager, Madam Mayor and Council. I have to say that the police department's only as good as our people. And I would like to take credit for this program. I'd like to take credit for thinking of it. I'd like to take all the credit, but it really lies with two individuals who put it all together. And I'm going to invite them up to handle the ceremonies, if that's okay. If I can get Lieutenant Garcia and Sergeant Cano to come on up. And before they start, I'd just like to thank you publicly. I have multiple times in front of the class, but thank you very much for really understanding the mission, the vision of what our department wants to do when it comes to community. And you guys have taken this on, additional responsibilities, and couldn't be more proud of both of you. So thank you very much.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Good evening, everybody. So my name is Sergeant Cano. I have Lieutenant Garcia here with me. So I just want to talk to you guys a little bit about our program and our Citizens Academy. Like the chief said, for us, it's very important that we have a open communication and relationship with our community. And at the same time, we want to make sure that they know what resources we have to be able to help them out and for them to feel that we're here to serve them. So our academy was 6 weeks long. They basically learned about everything that we do, every division that we have, everything from patrol functions to our mental health resources that we have, and every team or every unit that we have in our department. So with the help of Lieutenant Garcia, we put this on. And also, I want to extend our thanks to our assistant superintendent, Dr. Garland, and our BGE principal, Ms. Sandoval. So I'd like to bring them up here so that we can give them thanks. So they opened the doors to their school, their new building, and they helped us by allowing us to use their facilities to present our classes. So, ma'am, next bring you up.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for having us. I would like to thank the City Council for your support of this incredible partnership. I would also like to thank the Chief, of course, Chief Fairfield, Sergeant Cano, and Lieutenant Garcia for prioritizing our community and offering a Citizens Police Academy to our parents. And thank you to our principal, Ms. Sandoval, for offering that space, and all our parents that are in the audience that took the time to participate in this incredible academy. I do have a couple of certificates I would like to present to, of course, Sergeant Cano and Lieutenant Garcia. Thank you. Thank you. On behalf of MUSD, thank you so much for taking the time to spend that time with our parents in our community and provide them with resources. I also have a quick statement that I would like to read from one of our school board members to the parents out there in our audience. So congratulations on your accomplishment in completing the Bell Gardens Police Citizens Academy. Your hard work is recognized and commended. Thank you for your commitment to the city and the MUSD community. I look forward to seeing you all in person and extending my gratitude on behalf of the MUSD community. Please feel free to reach out and know you have a friend and partner in our endeavor to help our students succeed and keep our community safe. Board Member Carlos Ordon. Thank you so much for your time and your partnership.
Good afternoon, ma'ams, sirs. So this class was a little different. This class was a little different because we wanted to cater it toward our families who have stay-at-home parents. Most of the time, what we do is we'll hold it in the afternoon after people get off of work. But what we were finding is we weren't getting a lot of as many people as we would like, or we were addressing a different portion of our community, and we wanted to open it up to everyone. We had a meeting at BGE one day, and one of the parents brought it up. In fact, one of the parents that are here brought it up that they would have liked to hold it in the morning after they drop off their children, and that way they can just walk into a school. So we accommodated them, and it was a great idea. It turned out to be a fantastic idea. We were able to allow them to drop off their children at various schools here in Bell Gardens. And by around 8:30 or so, we were able to start. And I have to give it to our participants because they put in the work, they put in the time, they put in the effort, and they were there every day, day in, day out. And I should say every Tuesday. We held it on Tuesdays, but it went to 8 o'clock. It started at 8:30ish or so, and it went to about 10:30, 11 o'clock. There were times that we didn't get out of there till noon. And it wasn't because of what we were bringing to the table, but it was for what they were bringing to the table. They had questions, they were intrigued, they were interested. And it's amazing to me to see how the change in their perception of the police department came about, because they went in there a little hesitant. They went in a little hesitant and not knowing what to expect. But by the time we were done with this program, they were all excited. They were all looking forward to it. We just finished having our potluck today, and they want a part 2. So we have to open it up for, I told them that we were not going to have a part 2 yet, but the part 2 is going to be them joining our Neighborhood Watch program. So I'm very proud of all of our participants. I'm very grateful to our chief. I'm grateful to our superintendent, Dr. Garland, and mostly I'm very grateful to Ms. Sandoval, the principal at BGE, because without her, we would not be able to hold this program or these classes, because as you all know, sometimes transportation is an issue. And it made it so much easier to just have them walk their children to school and then walk right into the classroom. So to all of you, thank you very much, and we appreciate it. So now what we're going to have is have Chief Fairfield present the certificates of completion. Sure. So our first participant is Miriam Martinez. You want to stand up? Yeah. Okay. Vamos a hacer una fila. Xochitl Rodriguez. Amelia Torres. Iris Violeta Hernandez. María Cruz. Luz Contreras. Gloria Casillas. Marta Cabral. Norma Aguilar. Beatriz Benavides. Adriana Rivera. Sheila Medrano. Mónica Moreno. Erica Gonzalez. Cecilia Cerda. And María de Sama. So this is our graduating class 002. We had a total of 39 graduates. Unfortunately, because of scheduling conflicts and work, they weren't able to make it, but these folks here were able to make it. You should be very proud of these graduates.
And-
There's two parents that are gonna speak a little bit about the program. If that's okay, they'll take about a minute or so.
Yeah, of course. And then we'll take a picture after. So I don't know if you want to
So
have
should
them
we take a picture
stand
now?
and
Yes.
have them come up. Well, we'll hear them first. We'll have council member comments and then we'll take a picture.
Sounds good. And yeah.
However they want. I mean, if they don't want us like go back into their.
Okay.
Sí, si gustan pararse a los lados o como ustedes gusten, después de que hablen sus compañeras, nos vamos a tomar una foto. So, como ustedes gusten, si se quieren sentar o pararse. And then we do have interpretation, both English and Spanish.
Good evening. My name is Sheila Medrano. I just want to speak about the program and about what it meant to me. I decided to take this program to learn more about what goes around our city. I do have a team, which was the reason why I took this course. After taking this course, I've learned that a police officer job is not as easy as it seems, and their duty is more than what we think. I learned a little about how the law works. As a parent, I am now able to be more precautious with the activities my kids do, and especially with the social media. I want to thank our Bell Gardens Police Department for the amazing classes. Thank you, Chief Scott, Lieutenant Garcia, and Sergeant Cano.
Hola, buenas tardes. Soy un padre de la comunidad de Bell Gardens. Pues, de las 6 semanas que nos dieron el curso sobre la policía, ¿qué le puedo decir? No los conocíamos muy bien, como dice la gente, hasta que ellos fueron personalmente a la escuela a darnos las clases. Los conocimos de diferente manera, como la oficina, de la ventana para atrás. Son muy diferentes, muchas cosas que no sabíamos, nos los explicaron y pues les doy gracias a ustedes para se vuelvan a repetir las clases. Gracias a la directora que nos dio el privilegio. Gracias.
So she said, good evening. In the 6 weeks in which we received this course, we didn't know our officers well, so we got to know them at a different level. It's so different getting to see them. And we would just like to thank the Bell Gardens Police Department as well as the principal, and hopefully they'll repeat this course. De antemano, primero quisiera agradecerle a todas ustedes que participaron en este curso. Creo que sin ustedes este curso no se podría haber hecho posible. Felicidades de que completaron 6 semanas. Ojalá hayan aprendido muchísimo y hayan conocido, como ustedes mencionaron, a nuestro departamento a otro nivel. Porque es una colaboración aquí en nuestra comunidad entre los ciudadanos que viven y ellos que nos sirven, porque hacen una gran labor, pero a veces nosotros no conocemos cuáles son los procesos, a veces nos frustramos. Es una gran oportunidad poder conocer más acerca de los procesos y también conocer a los oficiales individualmente, porque ahora sí, si ustedes tienen alguna emergencia, alguna preocupación y ustedes le hablan a alguno de ellos, pues se van a sentir más cómodas, más a gusto, y ustedes están haciendo una gran labor por sus hijos también, porque ahora van a saber cómo poder abogar por la seguridad en sus escuelas, por la seguridad en sus alrededores. Muchísimas gracias a ustedes por participar, y ojalá y les cuenten a sus amigas, comadres, vecinos y todo para que ellos vengan a la siguiente academia o la siguiente clase. Pero sí les quería dar unas palabras a ustedes en español. Just want to thank all of you for being participants in our course, and this course wouldn't be possible without you. You add great value to our community and to our children and to our schools by learning about our processes, by learning about our officers and what our police department does. That way now you feel more comfortable addressing them or calling them or just reaching out to our city in general. So thank you so much for attending. I would also like to thank Montebello Unified, It's great to see these partnerships. I think the chief has been advocating for this since I began my council journey 4 years ago. And to see it now come to fruition and see how much involvement we have and see the partnerships, it's truly great. Because I think it's only to the benefit of our community and the benefit of our kids, which is, I think, something that we all care about very, very deeply. So thank you, Principal. Thank you, Dr. Garland, Ms. Sandoval, for this partnership and for opening up your school so we could have this beautiful group of parents take this class that might be intimidating, but in a space where they feel comfortable, in a space that they're so familiar with. Because not only are they part of our academy, they're part of PTA, they're part of Schools at Council, ELAC, DLAC, PAC, they're super parents. So a big round of applause for our super parents. And lastly, to our great instructors, I know Lieutenant Garcia and Sergeant Cano were the big organizers, but I know there were other officers that also presented and other pieces of Bell Gardens Police Department that came out and informed all of our parents of the great things that happen within our police department. So thank you, all of you, for your labor, for your time, for coming in, you know, once a week or however it was in the mornings, outside of probably your shifts, to teach these classes. I appreciate it. And I would love to see more of this. I know some of our administrators already took this class, and now to reach out to the rest of the community. It's beautiful to see all the learning and all the growth and the community that we're building with our police department, our city. So thank you so, so much. And now I would like to open it up to the rest of the council member comments.
I just want to go ahead and add that this is a truly display of community and leadership. When you see the school district, the police officers, our residents collaborate together on something like this, it really shows how community can come together, and it's only to benefit all of us. So thank you so much to everybody involved. I really appreciate it.
Nada más quiero agregar un poco de lo que mencionó la alcaldesa. Qué emoción ver a tantas madres participar en este programa tan importante, porque sabemos que no solamente ustedes se educaron y conocen un poco más del departamento de policía, pero todo lo que aprendieron se lo van a enseñar a sus hijos. Y entonces ellos van a aprender también de qué es el departamento de policía, qué hacen los policías, las carreras que están disponibles en el departamento, y esto va a continuar de una generación a la próxima. Y como se mencionó, está la colaboración de no solo de los padres, pero con el departamento de la policía y de la escuela, y se muestra que todos somos unidos y queremos mejorar nuestra comunidad juntos. Muchísimas gracias, y me emociona que ni una de ustedes reprobó, y a todas les dieron certificado. Muchísimas, muchísimas gracias.
Hola a todas y felicidades. Me da mucho gusto ver que, bueno, me da mucho gusto, pero también me pongo a pensar, ¿dónde están los hombres? Tienen que, por favor, regañar a sus esposos, si es que están casadas, o a sus hijos, que se vengan también a las clases, porque la verdad, qué pena que no tenemos representación de hombres en estas clases. Pero eso aparte, ustedes están haciendo un trabajo fenomenal. Están aquí siendo reconocidas por su dedicación y su interés en la comunidad, ¿verdad? Yo les diría, no paren ahí. Vénganse para las juntas, pregunten cosas sobre la ciudad, cómo funciona el gobierno, porque nosotros estamos aquí para darles esa información a ustedes, para que ustedes puedan compartir eso con sus familias, para que agarren al esposo de las orejas y se lo traigan también. Y para que pues sigan siendo parte de esta comunidad activa, porque eso es muy, muy importante. Entonces, felicidades, porque ustedes son un ejemplo muy grande para las otras mujeres de su comunidad, y me da mucho gusto verlas aquí todas representando a la mujer. Gracias.
Brevemente, nomás les quiero decir que muchas gracias por participar en un programa así. Es muy importante saber lo que está pasando en nuestra comunidad. Gracias al Distrito Escolar de Montebello por tener este programa, igualmente la primaria de Bell Gardens, y también a nuestros oficiales, a Lieutenant Garcia y Sergeant Cano. Muchas gracias por el servicio que han hecho. Cuando hablamos de programas de comunidad, de eso se trata. Cuando hablamos sobre crecer nuestra confianza con nuestros servidores, de eso se trata, ¿verdad? Me imagino que muchos de ustedes a lo mejor tienen muchas preguntas de cómo funcionaba el departamento de policía. Ahora sí, con este tipo de clases, con este tipo de información, ahora sí ya tenemos las respuestas. ¿verdad? Y pues de nuevo, aquí estamos siguiendo apoyando estos tipos de programas. Les agradezco mucho que hayan participado y hay que seguir adelante estando activas en nuestra comunidad. Muchas gracias.
Y ahora sí, si nos tomamos una foto, si quieren venir aquí, we're going to go ahead and take a picture. Sergeant Lieutenant, can you help us? And then council, if you want to go down, we'll fit somewhere.
Are you coming too? And I can't I can figure out the biggest portion. We have to do wide zoom. You guys want to start? Okay. Everyone look this way. Smile, baby. Ready? 1, 2, and keep smiling. Great. I got
So I was.
María.
They're upstairs in the EOC room if they want to come down to. Okay. Okay, at this point, we're gonna go ahead and move on to three different proclamations or three different presentations. So if we do have students from any of our teams at the EOC, if you could come into council chambers. No, I think this is it. Maybe we'll call it at the end of.
Yeah.
So do we do all three presentations and then we do the pictures? Okay. Okay. So my the three presentations, we're not gonna move it, and we don't after the break, and then we'll do the pictures then the break.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
After all.
Should we do, is there a way to move the women's history one up?
Oh, yeah, I think the only. Oh, Daisy. I'm sorry. Oh.
Can we move the women's history
good.
one up, just to get that one out of the way?
She'll disconnect with us.
Let's. Move it up.
But this is her card.
Thank you. Okay. City Manager? Can we please proceed with the Women's History Month proclamation?
Yes, thanks again, Mayor Cortez. The Women's History Month is a proclamation recognizing the month of March as Women's History Month to acknowledge all the things that I guess obviously that women have done for everybody on this planet, because I think we were probably all born from a mother. So we all have things. With that, I'll turn it back over to you, Mayor.
Thank you, City Manager. So today we're going to be issuing a proclamation in honor of Women's History Month, and I do want to call up our Girl Scout to receive this proclamation. If you want to come to the podium. Yay. So the City of Bell Gardens presents this proclamation in honor of Women's History Month, whereas American women in every race, class, and ethnic background have made historic contributions to the growth and strength of our nation in countless recorded and unrecorded ways. Whereas American women have played and continue to play a critical economic, cultural, and social roles in every sphere of the life of the nation by constituting a significant portion of the labor force working inside and outside of the home. American women have played a unique role throughout the history of the nation by providing the majority of the volunteer labor force of the nation. American women were particularly important in the establishment of early charitable, philanthropic, and cultural institutions of our nation. American women of every race, class, and ethnic background served as early leaders in the forefront of every major progressive social change movement. Women have served our country courageously in the military, They have been leaders not only in securing their own rights of suffrage and equal opportunity, but also in the abolitionist movement, the emancipation movement, the industrial labor movement, the civil rights movement, and other movements, especially the peace movement, which created a more fair and just society for all. And despite these contributions, the role of the American woman in history has been consistently overlooked and undervalued in the literature, teaching, and study of American history. Now, therefore, let it be resolved that I, Alejandra Cortez, Mayor of the City of Bell Gardens, with the City Council, do hereby proclaim the month of March as Women's History Month in Bell Gardens and encourage all citizens to celebrate, support, value, and respect all women. Council, do you have any comments? I just want to say, thank you so much for receiving our proclamation. I know it was last minute and you're probably like very nervous about being up on the podium, but I thought, what a better example than our Girl Scouts that have, they're working very hard in our community. There are different volunteer events and they're starting off at a very, very young age. And even behind you, look at all the women, fabulous women behind you that are making great contributions and are excelling in sports. So you have great examples behind you. You have great examples to the sides of you with our directors that are females. So let's celebrate them and also my council colleagues that are women as well. So I think we're making great advances as mujeres. So thank you for receiving it and a big round of applause para todas las mujeres. Okay, we're going to move on to all the other presentations, then we'll take a recess, and at the recess, we'll take pictures with all the different groups. So we'll just have one person, maybe one or two students from each group to come up and receive the certificate or even the coaches. And then at the end, we'll take a picture with the entire group, okay? City Manager, can you please present the first one?
Sure. Thank you, Mayor Cortez. The first one is for the Bell Gardens High School girls basketball team. I'll turn it over to Liz Nava, our Recreation Community Services Director, to provide some more detailed information. Thanks, Liz.
Thank you, Mr. O'Kelly. Good evening, Mayor Cortez and members of the City Council. It's my privilege to be able to introduce the following Bell Gardens High School sports teams for recognition. First up, we'll have our girls basketball team, and they are coached by two head coaches, Andres Guzman and Eddie Golden. If you guys want to come on up to get your certificate. The varsity girls basketball team finished second in league and made it all the way to the second round of CIF this year. Congratulations.
Coaches, if you want to share a couple words about your amazing team and all their accomplishments.
Yeah, just a few things. So our basketball program, we've worked at it, well, not 9-10 years now, but we participated 6 straight years in CIF, won 5 CIF games during that time, and a record 23 games won this year. And so we're really proud of our team and what they've accomplished. And we always give good effort and everything that we try to have good sportsmanship as well. So we really value that as a team. So thank you very much.
The City of Bell Gardens would like to present the certificate of recognition to our Bell Gardens High School girls basketball team. The Bell Gardens City Council is proud to recognize and congratulate the Lancers girls basketball team for finishing second in the league and for making it second to round of CIF. Congratulations to the entire team, coaches, support staff for an astounding turnout. Wishing you all much success in all future competitions. Big round of applause.
Thank you for the opportunity to recognize our program.
Our next one. Yes, we'll give them the certificate during the recess.
Okay.
Yes.
So the next team to be recognized is the Bell Gardens High School varsity girls soccer team. Their head coach is Jesus Venegas and assistant coach Isa Rivera. Do the coaches or the girls have anything to say?
I just want to say I'm proud of this season, how we did. We made history. We didn't get the results we wanted, but we tried our best.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I also want to agree with what you said. All of my teammates, both JV and varsity, we fought really hard during the season, and although we didn't come as far as we wanted to come, we all put our best out there on the field and during practices. So I'm really proud of them.
The City of Bell Gardens has a certificate of recognition to be presented to the Bell Gardens High School girls soccer team. The Bell Gardens City Council is proud to recognize and congratulate the Lancers girls soccer team for earning second place in the league and for making it to the quarterfinals in the CIF. We are proud of the entire team, coaches, and support staff that through your diligence have made this win possible. Wishing you all much success in the future competitions because you will get first place soon. And we're very happy that you represented us, yourselves, and the team. Thank you so much.
And I think your two team members deserve a big round of applause. It's very intimidating to speak. You're all examples, and I'm very thankful that you're here today, and you did a great job up at the podium. So congratulations with that as well. Not only are you great on the field, but you're great, here with us and speaking and representing very adequately your team. And as you mentioned, you did the best that you could on the field, but I'm sure you put all your heart and your soul into that field. So we're very, very proud of you. Last presentation.
I forgot to mention, Mayor, excuse me, they actually went into double overtime while they were in the quarterfinals and lost in penalty kicks. So they made it all the way. So they did a great job. And our final team to be recognized this evening is the boys varsity soccer team. And their head coach is Hector Venegas. And they were league champions this year. And they made it all the way to the CIF playoffs. And they also had a really tough loss in double overtime and 9 penalty kicks. So they definitely deserve this recognition. Congratulations.
I'm gonna have my captain say some words.
Ok, estoy nervioso. Mi nombre es Richard y pues de todo lo que tuvimos, pues lo más mejor fue que le ganamos a Montebello en nuestra casa con gol mío y también de George. Y pues también lo otro, pues de que fuimos así ayer, pero no fue nuestra mejor presentación porque perdimos en penales y todo eso, pero pues nuestro equipo es un equipo bueno y pues tal vez en el siguiente año que viene tal vez hacemos algo mejor.
Hello, I'm George Perez, and although we didn't get as far as we wanted to, I'm proud of our team because we achieved like what we didn't believe we could. We were down in the last game. We needed to get 3 points to win league, and well, we managed to do it against Montebello. And well, I'm proud of my team because we all like fought through. And even during CIF, I mean, we lost in double overtime too, in penalties. But I mean, we all fought hard and we tried our best. But at the end, I mean, soccer's a unpredictable sport and we ended up losing. But I'm still proud of the team and the program. And yeah.
That's amazing. All of you are so humble and saying, we couldn't get there, or, we barely made it to this level, but I'm just listening to what level you made it and I'm astounded. Like it was amazing. You made it to PKs, you made it really, really far. And I'm sure it took a lot of effort. Back when I was in high school, I used to follow the soccer team around because I was in the newspaper, Lancers girl. So we always saw the defeats on the field, how hard it was on our students or how hard it was on my classmates. So I'm sure you guys had such a hard time, but you did amazing. And we're so proud that this is a representation for our city. Estamos muy orgullosos de ustedes y de que estuvieron aquí el día de hoy con nosotros para nosotros poderles otorgar esta presentación que no es nada en comparado con lo que están logrando y lo que están construyendo dentro de nuestra preparatoria y como ustedes dicen, el año que entra con más ganas y van a ver que van a lograr todo lo que pueden y todo lo que quieren y aquí nos tienen a nosotros como apoyo, cualquier cosa que necesiten para poder apoyarlos a que lleguen a triunfar y hasta lo más lejos que sea posible. So thank you so much, Council.
The City of Bell Gardens would like to present the certificate of recognition to the Bell Gardens High School boys soccer team. The Bell Gardens City Council is proud to recognize and congratulate the Lancer boys soccer team for earning their place as league champions. Great job for making it to CIF playoffs in double overtime and 9 penalty kicks. We recommend the entire team, coaches, and support staff for all their hard work and dedication. Wishing you much success in all future competitions. This is amazing, the fact that you guys went into double overtime. I know you guys worked really hard, so you guys should be very proud of yourselves. Congratulations.
At this point, the Bell Gardens City Council will go ahead and take a 10-minute recess. So we will reconvene at 7:06 and then we'll go ahead and take
Madam
pictures.
Mayor, do
Sorry.
you mind if I have a?
Oh, so sorry, Councilor Person. Yes, please go ahead before we.
Thank you for that. And hello, everyone. I just want to say congratulations on your recognition today. It's amazing to see so many girls from the high school doing such an amazing job opening up for Women's History Month. I always make a big deal when there are women here that are being recognized, and I'll tell you why. It wasn't that long ago that women didn't have the right to vote. It was about 100 years. So imagine the oldest person you know, maybe they were still alive, perhaps. So the fact that you are here today and you're setting an example for everyone, I think it's amazing. And it's harder for you to get ahead in life because of the disadvantages that society has imposed on you throughout history. And that's why Women's History Month in March, the entire month, is super important. Please learn about your history as women and make sure that you're proud and that you keep fighting so that you guys can continue to move forward in life. And you guys are doing an amazing job. So again, I make a big deal about it because it's true, and I want to recognize you, and I'm so happy that the council here is also recognizing you. So good job, and I don't want to alienate my voice too. I want to say congratulations to the soccer team. You guys are also fighters. I didn't play soccer, I play water polo, but I know how it is for us Bell Gardens residents showing up to some of these other more wealthy schools. You know, they have so many more resources, and we show up there and we're kind of like short and little, and, you know, we have like low budget sometimes, but we still do our thing and we still show them what's up. And I know that you guys are very humble, but stand proud and keep doing what you're doing because you're actually doing great. So thank you.
Real quick, I want to add to my colleagues' comments. You know, I have a couple of things here for each of the teams that we're recognizing. I'll start off with the boys soccer team. I think I was working, I think that day of the CIF game, I was working in Southgate right there down Firestone and Garfield. And then all of a sudden I see a bus pull up and you guys were like at the Buffalo spot or something, I think. So yeah, there you go. See, and I was like, oh, these are all Bell Gardens High School students. And you guys were headed to the game that day. I don't know if you guys made a quick pit stop to get something to eat beforehand, but I remember seeing that. That was the first thing I wanted to say about the boys soccer team. Second thing, and I don't know, he might be embarrassed, but shout out to Mr. Guzman. He was my freshman year PE teacher. So it's great to see that he's done phenomenal, especially in this basketball program. I mean, that's incredible. And then obviously seeing him now and connecting again, it just means a lot, right? He's dedicated a lot of time for Bell Gardens and he's seen all of us grow to some extent. And then finally, I also wanted to add something about, you know, to what my colleague said about, you know, funding, right? When we talk about sports, you know, I was also a part of sports when I was in the high school. I played volleyball at the high school. And I remember we would go to different schools, like in the San Gabriel Valley, And you look at their facilities that they have, the fields that they have. In that case, it would be the courts. And sometimes our school couldn't compare to that, right? The lack of resources is real. And on top of that, not just that, let's just say, you know, we do have some sort of funds. When it comes down to between males and females, I mean, just look at the national scale, right? The women's NBA compared to the men's NBA, right? The amount of publicity that each of them gets on TV, right? The amount of people that actually follow that, right? And it's women like you that are changing that conversation, right? It's women like you that are setting the standard that say, you know what, we can do that and we could do it better, right? So again, just want to give y'all a huge shout out for making it this far and continue going higher, right? Represent Bell Gardens with pride, right? Y'all are from BG and you know, when they say, where's BG at? We like, oh, right here, 710 freeway, the bicycle casino. That's how I'm referring, right next to Downey, but better. That's what I say. So again, just want to say thank you so much. Appreciate y'all being here and continue representing. Thank you.
So what I got out of that was, boys, next time don't go eat chicken wings and you will win. Congratulations.
Now we're going to go ahead and recess for 10 minutes. We'll reconvene at 7:11. And if we could take pictures, can we keep the live going just in case there's parents watching while we take the pictures? No, without the recess message, so that it just in case. While we take the pictures. So first we'll have our Girl Scout, so we can take a picture with you. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and get started. That's what it sounds like. We are reconvening at 7:15 PM. Public participation on non-agenda items. We will now move to public participations for items not listed on the agenda. Public participation is now open. City Clerk, please announce the instructions.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Members of the public will now have an opportunity to speak on items not listed on the City Council Successor Agency Joint Agenda. Please state your name for the record before addressing your comments to the members of the City Council and Successor Agency. Each speaker are limited to 3 minutes. Callers wishing to make a comment may do so at this time by dialing *9 from your phone, and when instructed, dial *6 to unmute yourself. Individuals joining us through Zoom may request to make a comment by using the raise hand feature on Zoom and select the unmute or the microphone icon when instructed. We will first hear from speakers that are in person, which public comment cards have been submitted to the mayor.
Mike Greenspan.
Mike Greenspan. 6 minutes. I'm a Bruin butt kicking Florida Gator. And now we have entered the period of Lent. Yes, we had our Fat Tuesday, followed by the Ash Wednesday, where everybody puts the ash on their head. And I found something from Food for Less, Lenten favorites. And it's gotta read this. Colosso, easy peel shrimp, raw or cooked. And then another thing, Great American Catfish Nuggets, 3 pound, cooked or raw shrimp, 1.25 pounds. I hate to break the news to you, folks. Jesus didn't eat that food. The fish has to have scales. Peter was a fisherman. He didn't go catch catfish and he didn't catch shellfish. He caught fish that was in the food law. It's called Leviticus 11. It's a great book. Now, as a friend of mine told me when explaining food law, who grew up at Hollywood Presbyterian, he said, God didn't do that to be mean. He did that so you'd live a better life. Jesus, I thank the pastor for mentioning Jesus, but Jesus never ate a slice of ham, never went on an Easter egg hunt. And read your Bible sometimes. There was one time Easter's mentioned in Acts, and you take it back to this book called the Strong's Exhaustive Concordance of the Bible. And what's the word in the Greek? Paschal, means Passover. Jesus never did Easter. Now, Good Friday is a Good Friday only because for people like me, there was no school on Good Friday, and that always makes it a Good Friday. Some of us are the last of the students. We love to cut class. But if you're going to teach lies, I was victimized from 2nd grade on with a stinky yaller fish. And I remember asking, why are we having this fish? It was Friday. Catholics will go to hell if they eat meat on Friday. What a lie, folks. What a lie. And a Jew should not have to appease that false doctrine. I mean, I'm going around like a bear with a sword behind because I'm committing the unpardonable Jewish sin, admitting I was wrong. And that the person who was right was the Klan or Baptist minister from the fucking Baptists in the Klan. He said, you all have false doctrines. Well, if you're going to go to hell for eating meat, that's a lie. Now, if you eat food from God's garbage bin, your tummy will go to hell. You'll have disease. And of course, well, places like Kaiser over there in Downey, if you're in the hospital, what do? They'll feed you porky pig for breakfast. So they'll prolong your stay and get more money out of you. Oink, oink. Oh, for the record, who takes it?
Bruce A. Crow.
Good evening. Non-agenda, a lot of interesting things happening tonight. I would like to start with policing and the role that they play, and I hope those classes were very beneficial. I hope everybody was enlightened, especially obviously a lot of mothers that were here. The councilman was right. Where are the dads? Where are the men? Especially in teenage boys' lives. You know, we do need more men and more fathers involved in these things and having a good relationship with the policing that goes on in our cities. And you can learn a few other things too. If you want to get really in depth about policing and appreciating the Anglo-Saxon values that come with policing. That's right, Anglo-Saxons. They were made up of three groups, the Saxons, the Jutes, and the Angles. Now, they occupied the eastern part of the British Isle in 400 AD, those three groups, because the Romans left because they couldn't maintain their empire any longer. So they abandoned the eastern side. Now, the Britons were there on the island. They were as pagan and lawless as you can get, and the Romans tried to civilize them all, but they couldn't do it. So the Anglo-Saxons came in and occupied that eastern part of the island and established some of the things that we have in policing and our court systems. Maybe those are things that can be discussed as well. Those are interesting things. And the thing was, unfortunately, well, they got their name Angles because a Roman poet saw the blonde-headed people portion of the Anglo-Saxons, said that they look like angels, so that Angles was the word. That's where that comes from, by the way. So you had the Saxons and the Jutes. So they occupied that territory for about 600 years, and they eventually intermingled with the Britons, and we have Britain and Great Britain and those people over there now. Unfortunately, in 1066, the Normans came over there and just beat the snot out of them, and now they're no longer in existence. So when somebody says Anglo-Saxon, the only thing we have left is a remnant of the policing in our country. That's where it comes from. And another thing, the girl sports and stuff, let's not overestimate girls in sports and stuff. I'll be the first to tell you, they're not as good as the men, but I don't think men should be claiming to be girls and going playing against them and beating the heck out of them. I don't think that's right. I don't think that's fair. And I just think it needs to be stopped. Thank you.
City Clerk, do we have any additional comments?
No, and we didn't receive any written communication on non-agenda items.
If there's no objection by members of the City Council, we'll go ahead and close public participation for non-agenda items. Public participation is now open for items listed on the City Council Successor Agency Joint Agenda. City Clerk, please announce the instructions for public participation.
Thank you, Mayor. The members of the public will now have an opportunity to speak on items listed on the City Council Successor Agency Joint Agenda. State your name for the record before addressing your comments to the members of the City Council and Successor Agency. Each speaker are limited to 3 minutes, and callers wishing to make a comment may do so at this time by dialing *9 from your phone, and when instructed, dial *6 to unmute yourself. Individuals joining us through the Zoom app may request to make a comment by using the raise hand feature on Zoom and select the unmute or the microphone icon when instructed. We will begin to hear from the members of the public that are physically present in the council chamber, and the speaker cards have been provided to the mayor.
Mike Greenspan.
Yes, Mike Greenspan. Now, I got a few items I want to talk about within the 3-minute span. Warrant Register Successor Agency. Now, the only good thing Jerry Brown ever did, he outlawed the Community Redevelopment Agency. He said when he signed the legislation back in 2011 to outlaw it, that was money that should go for city services, things like the sewers, the streets, the police, the fire. And you know, and I know that those community redevelopment agencies are a big racket. I remember watching Channel 35 in LA, and it was from the council chambers, but it wasn't a city council meeting. I always say they had a service, an AFSCME convention, American Federation of State, County, Municipal Employees convention, and a CRA meeting broke out, because that's the only thing that's getting developed, their wallets, their purses, and their Bloomingdale's cards for high-priced salaries. That's all it is. Have you ever seen them actually redevelop something? Oh, Mitt Romney did a photo op a couple miles from where I live, right after Barack Obama got into office. And I'm sure Barack Obama didn't know anything about that failed North Hollywood.
On agenda items, can you?
Yeah, on successor agencies and their failures, because they are failures, the redevelopment agencies. And the point I was trying to make, I'm sure ours are just as much failures as Illinois or Massachusetts. Maybe we could have compared Mitt Romney in Massachusetts with his redevelopment agencies and Barack Obama with Illinois and theirs. I'm sure there would be a very low number in all of them as far as success stories. Because if it was such a great thing, that legislation never would have made Jerry Brown's desk. As I say, it's the only thing he's done right. And let's see, look at what happens with these redevelopment agencies. It gives jobs. That's all. It gives jobs to bureaucrats. It does. Has it solved the homeless problem? Not at all. Has it brought any businesses here? Just look at all the police signs. Obviously, it hasn't done a thing. I know I've spent a lot of time getting down on that. Well, watch what you do, folks. Number 8, they're going to have a license plate reader camera, so you'll get caught if you think they won't catch you doing it. And as far as get your police vehicles from Ford, because GM sucks.
Bruce A. Crow.
Good evening again. I want to talk about number 14, rescinding the requirement for masks in meetings. What has taken you this long? You should have stood up and showed leadership and not adhered to it to begin with. It was a clear violation of people's civil rights. I mean, you put a mask on somebody, what were you thinking if you supported it? Did you think you were going to stop the spread of a virus? Did you think you were going to protect yourself from a virus with a mask on? What science were you following? Was there any science that indicated that was true? None. And they're admitting it now. They're admitting it now. Now, I mean, you can have a doctor and a patient relation. I can see them having a mask on to stop a bacteria, but not so much a virus. But you went ahead and did it anyway. Some of you did. Some of you did not approve it. And I commend you for that. But stopping the spread of the virus was not something that was scientific. I mean, Tony Fauci sat there and said, oh, you shouldn't be wearing a mask. Nobody should be wearing a mask. We're going to take 15 days to stop the spread. And it wasn't 2 weeks later, he turned around and said, you should be wearing 3 masks. Why would they do that? Well, for division. That's what they were doing. And control. And the people fell in line. They gave up their rights to follow along with this. And it was a big mistake. And those of you in positions of authority made a big mistake too. You should be ashamed of yourself for following such protocols, especially from fake doctors like Barbara Ferrer. She's still lying today. She is lying today about COVID-19 and the deaths from COVID-19. She has no shame whatsoever. If you want to be mad at somebody, you may have had a relative die of COVID or something related to COVID. There's always the underlying currents. Those numbers that Barbara Ferrara gives out at the LA County are lies. They're not accurate. She should be tried for her crimes against humanity in LA County. And the supervisors should be held accountable as well that hired her. If you want to be mad at somebody, don't be mad at me. We have a 99.98% survival rate of coronavirus. Everybody in here has survived. That's 100% survival rate. I've survived. It's just, you shouldn't have done it. And now we want people to be held accountable for it.
City Clerk, do we have additional comments?
Thank you. We don't have any raised hands virtually. However, we did receive 4 written requests in support of enforcing rent control immediately, which is item 15. And we did receive 1 request for information, and that was directed to staff regarding rent control. And that is all.
Thank you, City Clerk. If there's no objection by the City Council, we'll go ahead and close public participation for items listed in the agenda for council and successor agency. City Manager, moving on to your report.
Thank you, Mayor Cortez. I'll be brief on this. I just want to mention 3 items regarding sports, since we had all these high school athletes in here earlier this evening. This Thursday at 5 p.m. is the closing of the youth baseball registration. So if you're interested in that, you've got till this Thursday at 5 p.m. Small fry soccer registration is going on until next Thursday, March 9th. And just a note that youth basketball had 117 participants and had their first game this Saturday. So all of these players, I assume at some point will probably play at Bell Gardens High School, and then we'll probably be here in the council chambers maybe in another 5 or 6 years. We'll see. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, City Manager. Moving on to the consent calendar. Does any member of the council successor agency wish to pull an item for separate discussion? Okay, hearing none, I'll go ahead and move to approve. May I have a second?
I second.
Second by Mayor Pro Tem. City Clerk, can you please call a roll call vote?
Yes, thank you. Members of the council and successor agency, Barsana,
Yes.
Councilmember Chavez,
Yes.
Councilwoman Pulido,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Vice Chair Sanchez,
Yes.
and Mayor and Chair Cortez.
Yes. Motion carries. City Manager, can we please have the first discussion item?
Yes, thank you. Thanks again, Mayor Cortez. The first item is the local commission's appointment list. So at this time, if any council members would like to make any appointments or removals or anything of that nature, now would be the time to make a motion. Thank you, Mayor.
I would like to appoint Cindy Alvarado to my Recreation and Cultural and Youth Commission, and also Andrew Leon to Education Commission.
Any other changes? Okay, hearing none, I'll move to approve. May I have a second? Second by Councilmember Barsana. Roll call vote?
Yes, Mayor, thank you. Members of the council and successor agency, Barsana,
Yes.
Councilmember Chavez,
Yes.
Councilwoman Pulido,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Sanchez, and Mayor Cortez.
Yes. Motion carries. Discussion item number 12.
Thanks again, Mayor Cortez. This next item is a multi-year item. It's been going for about approximately 2 years now, 1.5 years. It's a Prop 1 grant project that was not city funding. The city did not receive the funding, but the city was supportive in KDI's efforts to reimagine the city's golf course. With that, I'll turn it over to our Recreation Community Services Director, Liz Nava. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. O'Kelly. Good evening again, Mayor Cortez and members of the City Council. As Mike mentioned, the item before you tonight is just a brief overview and update of KDI's project and Prop 1 funding that they received back in 2021. And I'm going to hand it over to Lauren from KDI, and she will be giving you a brief presentation about what they've done so far with the Prop 1 funding and what they're going to do from here on out. And this is just a receive and file to keep council up to date with what's going on. So at this time, Lauren, I'd like to hand it over to you for your presentation.
Great. Thank you, Liz. Can everyone see my screen okay? Okay. Good evening, Mayor Cortez and City Council members. Thank you for the opportunity to present the work we've been doing in partnership with Liz and her team to rethink the Bell Gardens Golf Course as a productive public space. As Liz said, my name is Lauren Alashi, and I am a senior design principal with Kinkui Design Initiative, or KDI. And I'm accompanied virtually by my colleague, Chance. Chance, are you able to introduce yourself?
Yeah, hello. Hi, my name is Chance. I'm a planning coordinator at KDI.
Thanks, Chance. And I promise I'll keep it quick because I know we're running behind, but I wanted to tell you a little bit about the work we've been doing. So just to talk a little bit about our organization, KDI, we are a design and community development nonprofit organization based in LA that focuses on building equity in low-income communities of color. As an office of landscape architects, community organizers, and urban planners, we help cities partner with communities to bring life to public space improvements that fit the vision of the community, stakeholders, and city staff. We do this through a number of different avenues, building out equitable policies, designing public spaces, and creating opportunities for capacity and power building within communities. And at the heart of our work is the co-design of what we call productive public spaces. So what exactly does that mean? We define that as not just any old park, but as a park that is socially, ecologically, and economically beneficial for community members. Through a robust participatory design process, we have designed and built public spaces throughout Southern California and around the country. So as was explained a little bit earlier, in 2021, the Rivers and Mountains Conservancy awarded KDI a grant from Prop 1 funding to create a vision plan for the future of Bell Gardens Golf Course. We're approximately halfway through our grant period and wanted to take this opportunity to give you all an update on where we are, where we're planning to go over the next year, and what we've learned from community members so far. KDI always works in a way to advance equity and create multiple touch points for community members to be heard and directly shape the direction of our projects. Our goals on this particular project are to engage a broad swath of community members through a baseline survey, which I'll talk about more in a little bit, and to help us define the direction for what this space could look like. From here, we'll be working alongside community members and city staff to create a concept plan for the new Bell Gardens Park, as well as a vision plan to help lay out the blueprint, for community priorities, next steps, and gaining future funding. Just as a note, this grant is only funding planning, not construction, and our grant only extends through concept design. So this is still very early on in the process. So to talk a little bit more in depth about our work so far, during the summer of 2022, we set out to talk to as many folks in Bell Gardens as we could through attending various movie and music events, setting up what we call mobile engagements to meet people where they are, and through more formalized community workshops. We conducted engagements at the golf course, at Ford Park, Veterans Park, where we handed out surveys that asked about community priorities and needs in public spaces, as well as whether they would like the golf course to stay as a golf course or to become a different type of public space. So through all of our engagements, we were able to reach over 780 folks to hear their thoughts on public space needs. And we worked with a third-party advocacy and research group called Tinkercraft to evaluate and design the survey and outreach, where we determined we exceeded the total amount of respondents to meet a criteria, a statistically defined criteria of what is called deep engagement, which means over 1% of the total Bell Gardens population. So through this survey, we gained a really broad understanding of different types of programs and amenities that folks want to see in their public space. And I'm happy to share the full results of that survey with anyone who's interested. However, the main takeaway we found here was that the majority of Bell Gardens residents chose to turn the golf course into a public park, while the majority of non-Bell Gardens residents that responded to the survey wanted to keep the golf course as it was. So having heard the community's preference and talking with Liz and her staff, what we'll be doing now is moving into the next phase of our work with the purpose of re-envisioning the golf course as a public park that more directly serves the community that surrounds it. Over the next few months, our team will be conducting bilingual community design workshops to do just that. This is a process we undergo on all of our projects at KDI, aiming to go beyond just traditional workshops to really give design power and decision-making to community members, and using our skills as designers and planners to help maintenance and
Lauren, your audio is cutting in and out.
Oh, I'm sorry. Can you not hear me well?
We just missed the last couple of sentences you said.
No worries. I was just walking through our design workshop priorities that folks want to see, to our second workshop, which will focus on concept design and layout of that public space. The third workshop will be bringing budget into play and using participatory budgeting processes to create opportunities for community members to prioritize what they want to see. And finally, we'll sort of come to a moment of consensus and giving feedback on different concept design options created through that process. After the finalization of that design, we will be working to create a vision plan for the renovated green space that will include concept design work, narrative, and opinion of probable cost ready to use for fundraising purposes. And we'll be collaborating with the city to hopefully line up funding to do further design work in the next phases of the project. And lastly, I also just wanted to mention that our grant includes funding for short-term activations at the Bell Gardens Golf Course that could range anywhere from tree planting to a series of community events to an art installation. And the form of activations will be determined through conversations with park staff and community members. But since we know that public projects can take years to complete, the short-term activations really will help keep community momentum and morale up while we're finding further fundraising opportunities. So just to recap, our next design workshops will be scheduled from March through June, with the vision plan wrapping up in late summer. Our smaller site activations will continue from late summer through fall, and the full project will wrap up in the winter of 2023, with the hope of finding funding that could be used for design development and construction documentation phases. So with that, thank you for the opportunity to present our work to you today, and myself and Chance are happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Questions, comments by council? Councilor Bartona.
I just want to thank the KDI team for working on this and acknowledge the fact that it didn't cost the city any money. We were lucky to be able to benefit from this grant. My experience with KDI has been pretty positive, and the reason why I'm saying this is because they did help us apply for a Prop 68 grant. And I don't remember exactly if that's the round that we were awarded the grant, but it ultimately led to us receiving that money. We haven't used it for the projects yet, but we received the money. When I was an employee, I applied for Prop 68 for that grant probably twice. So what I'm trying to say here is that from when you start looking into building something to where you actually build it, sometimes it could take a decade, and I'm not exaggerating. But one thing that is extremely important is to make sure that you have a plan in place, that you have a vision, and that vision comes not from a select group of people like just the council, but that it comes from the community. So after seeing the positive results of this survey, which is 700 87, which exceeds the guideline or criteria as it was presented. I'm just happy to know that we at least have a vision that is that uses our constituents as a basis of what we can potentially see in the future at this golf course. So I just want to thank the team. I want to thank the council for being open to exploring this possibility. And I am excited because I feel like this is the beginning of something that can benefit our residents. And as we saw from the results, we had an overwhelming response from residents that say they want to see something a little bit different, right? And so thank you. Thank you. I'm very excited to see these results, and thank you for all the work that you put forth. I appreciate it.
Real quick, I just want to say, add on as my colleagues mentioning, appreciate the information that's being brought to us. You know, in my own experience, living here in Bell Gardens, I didn't even know that there was a golf course here since I got on council. I wasn't really familiar with that, with knowing that there was a golf course here. And I think there's, to some extent, a good basis of our community that doesn't know that there is even a golf course, right? And I'm pretty sure the data the data shows that. You know, I know that the presentation or the brief graphs that were shown didn't really dive into the questions more specific, but I'd be interested in seeing what type of questions were asked, how many questions were asked, you know, what events were attended. I remember I attended a couple of the food distributions that we did on Saturdays, and I remember some folks would be out there, you know, as cars would be passing by getting food. You know, KDF would be out there collecting surveys and doing a quick round and getting input. So I'd be interested in seeing those findings of what the more specific data that was collected. And then also I saw the timeline earlier, but I didn't get a good glimpse of it. But I would say is for the next steps, you know, continue to keep us updated on what's being done, whether it's every other month, every 3 months or so. And perhaps maybe, you know, if there wasn't a good turnout for a certain event or something, we could probably do something where we could assist elsewhere. Yeah, thank you so much. Again, really appreciate the information, and as Councilmember Barcena said, thank you to everybody here for being supportive and wanting to see what our community thought about the golf course and potentially different spaces, a different use of that space. Thanks.
Madam Mayor, if nobody else has a comment, I do have a question. And the question is for staff, really, because I remember about a year ago, we really went out there and we tried to increase turnout to the golf course. And I myself went out there to a couple of these events, and they were great. Like, I really appreciated the event itself, but can we have maybe the director just tell us how those events went? And did you guys see any hope of like the golf programming being part of this future plan, or did you receive any good results from our efforts to increase participation at the golf course?
Just to clarify, Councilman Barcena, you mean from previous years when you were?
Oh, no, just from about a year ago. You were already on board. I think Mike remembers we had someone from the US Golf. I don't remember the exact name of the organization, but they came out here. They did free lessons for our residents. And I just wanted to see if numbers increased after that, or.
Are you talking about the LA County Public Work, LA County Recreation that came out and they gave lessons? They didn't they brought all their equipment out. Yeah, I remember that.
Golf course, yeah.
Yes, Councilman Barcena, thank you for the question. We have partnered since last year. We have progressively partnered with more and more organizations to bring golf into the community. Additionally, the high school recently added a golf team, which they utilize our golf course. So we're partnering with organizations like the Junior Golf PGA, the Pro Golf, LA County, as Councilman Chavez mentioned, also LA 84, to provide opportunities for our community to become familiar with the resources that are currently available, which include the golf course. I did become aware when I was first hired here that the golf course was not something that was, as you mentioned, well-known in our community. And so one of the goals that we have in our department is to make sure that we're adding programming and events to showcase what we do have at the golf course, because while we are working with KDI, we also want our residents to be able to take full advantage of what's available to them. And so we're implementing new programming. Of course, with the pandemic, everything was put on hold, but we're doing our best as we've come out of the pandemic to make sure that the residents are aware of what we have here. We have golf clubs available to rent and very low cost for residents to participate and play. So there are opportunities, and we're working on getting the word out there for sure for the residents. And yes, numbers have increased. I'm very happy to say prior to last year, we were operating at a deficit because of the pandemic, and we've come out of that. So I'm very proud of the work that my team has done and where we are today. So it's good news. Thank you.
Sorry, one quick question. When you say we're operating at a deficit, do you mean from the golf course itself or from the department in general?
No, I'm sorry. It was out of the golf course specifically.
Oh.
The golf course has its own general fund account, budget account.
So would it be safe to say that we're breaking even in the golf course now?
Yes,
Oh.
we're doing well on the golf course, at least breaking even. So
Oh, thank you. Thank you for that.
yes.
Briefly, I do want to add one more thing because I just remembered, with the golf course, and this is just conversation that I've heard, at the county, the region, potentially there's opportunities in the future, depending on what our findings are, to develop this space for something else aside from the golf course. I know that that's been constantly a conversation, whether that be at the state level, at the county, at the regional level, and there's support, there's financial backing on that, just in conversations that I've had with other folks. So depending on what comes out of the results of the findings, whether it's a park or some other sort of a green space, it's going to be interesting to see what comes out of it. But yeah, just wanted to mention that. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? I'll take a motion to receive and file.
Motion.
And this, I need a second.
I second.
City Clerk, can you please conduct a roll call vote?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Member of the council, Barcena,
Yes.
Councilmember Chavez,
Yes.
Councilwoman Pulido,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Sanchez,
Yes.
and Mayor Cortez.
Yes. Motion carries. City Manager, discussion item 13.
Thanks again, Mayor Cortez. The next item is the staff recommended approval of an amendment to the contract with All City Management Services for additional crossing guard services. So just by way of background, before I turn it over to the Public Works Director, the city has been 100% paying for 7 crossing guard locations for a number of years. And Public Works worked with the police department to identify 8 additional sites where crossing guards may be the most beneficial, just based on incidents and traffic levels in that. So with that, I'll turn it over to Grisel Chavez, our Director of Public Works.
Thank you, Mike. Good evening, Mayor and members of the City Council. Following up to the last presentation of City Council about the possibility of adding additional crossing guards in the city. So before you is information on what that would look like in terms of funding and timeline. So in keeping with the 8 recommended locations by the police department, as listed in the staff report before you, these are prioritized by location, and starting with Gage Avenue and Habanera Road as the first location. And lastly, Gage and Darwell, serving the high school and Cesar Chavez Elementary School as the 8th location. So All City Management Services, whom provides these contract services for the city, is available to fill the crossing guards as early as first to second week of March, depending on the outcome this evening, of course. That would be a cost of approximately $68,382 to fund crossing guards the remainder of this school year from March to June. I think it's June 9th or 10th. I'm sorry, the PowerPoint. Oh, there it is. It wasn't working for me earlier. Sorry about that. So that would be the adjustment that would be needed to the budget right now if we wanted to start now. For the next school year, 23-24 school year, and including summer school, that cost would be approximately $176,383. Staff did reach out at the direction of council, reached out to the Montebello Unified School District to see if they had any funds for these additional services. They responded that they did not have any funding for the school year currently, but we would continue to work with them to see if they could cover costs for the next year. So the $68,000 now would be needed out of the city's general fund, and we're hoping that for the prior to the next school year, some of the costs could be shared with the school district. So there are 7 locations now as listed in the screen before you. And they have been the same locations for many years. So the 8 locations, if you see in the map in front of you, the yellow green star there are the existing locations. The red X's are where the proposed 8 locations are. And the recommended action from council now is to approve the resolution that would authorize the amendment to the contract with all city management services. And then if the services are requested to start this year versus next year, we would need the appropriation approval from city council to appropriate the $68,382 in funding to cover the school year that's left for approximately the 3 months. And that concludes my report. I'm available to answer any questions council may have. Thank you.
I do have a question. I didn't see Florence and Elsa Linda. So I'm concerned about that intersection. I don't know if the chief has more information. That we had an accident last year in that intersection. Elsa Linda and Florence. Behind BGI.
Yeah, approximately a year ago, yeah, last school year.
Yeah, so I don't see that on the list.
So Chris, that was the intersection. I think there were additional improvements made to striping and lighting in that. But I think, you know, what I take from this is they're probably, these are the priority locations that have been identified. So I'm not sure where that specific intersection, because there was a question, I think, about another intersection as well, where those fall. So I think.
So the 8 locations came about from feedback from the police traffic enforcement team based on, I think, volume of where students and parents are crossing, maybe the highest level of activity. Of course, we could always change out or add locations. It's roughly about $22,000 a year for a crossing guard to be added for a new location for the whole year. So with council direction, we could definitely add on additional crossing guard locations or go back to the police department and see if maybe some of the existing 8 recommended could be maybe replaced by one where we've had actual collisions involving students.
Can we go back to the map?
Yes. Oops.
So currently we're the red is we're proposing, correct?
Yes, those are the 8 proposed locations.
So I'm wondering if we can maybe move one of the ones from the high schools to Florence, given that the high school students presumably are a little bit older. At least maybe the ones on Agra, school administration should be out there.
I think the concern about the one on Elsa Linda and Florence is one, it wasn't listed, I believe, because it doesn't have a high traffic of students there. Most of them are going around either Habaneria or to the Priory side. The second is we'd prefer not to encourage folks to cross there, right? If we put a crossing guard there, I think we get more parents dropping kids off in that area, and it may cause it, even with the crossing guard, to be more dangerous. I think when we'd have to sit down with the company that does the crossing guards and really have a discussion on what they've seen.
Or we can even talk to the school to see, because I know from BGI, I heard heavily about this intersection. The parents wanted to do a whole petition, signatures, all that, because they thought it was important. I don't know what the flow is, but even if we have a conversation with BGI about maybe them even closing that gate.
That would be probably a more realistic. I don't know if it's realistic, but I think it'd be safest because we know what happens at drop off and pick up for school locations is the parents are very hesitant to follow the rules, to be honest with you. And if cars are driving at 20 miles an hour, 25 miles an hour, like you get on Habanera or on Priory versus the 45 to 55, whatever we get going down, and the larger trucks, we have the same issue on Gage really at Cesar Chavez. So again, we'd be open to looking at anything. Just our concern was how do we create the safest environment for our kids crossing, and I think not encouraging them to cross there would probably be the safest.
Grisel, can you remind myself and the council on the amendment? Are we calling out the specific locations? Or are we just calling out eight additional locations? Are we naming them by intersection?
We can, the pricing right now is for 8 locations, so.
But I mean,
it's the
we can
cost
shuffle those around to wherever's need. So I think if we could ask the council for approval to move forward with 8 locations, and then let us have a chance to go back and look at the prioritization of the 8 that we have, and then bring it back to council as a report back to council. While a contract, at least when we get the contract going so that the agency can start hiring and selecting crossing guards and getting everybody trained up in that.
Yeah, because even if Montebello Unified, if they don't have money to help us cover the cost, maybe they can, for example, the one on Live Oak and Purdy, administration tends to stand outside. So maybe they can just say, we'll stand outside, we'll watch this crossing area, and then instead place that cross guard on the other side, on the main street. The same thing for Agra Street. If they can't help us pay, maybe just admin can go outside and help us with that. That was my question.
Thank you so much for the presentation, Grisel. It's great to see that we're adding, proposing new crossing guards. I have 2 suggestions, or perhaps 2 more additional crossing guard locations that should be added. One of them is Gage and Ajax. I know that that's a huge intersection, and I know that there's like little flash, the lights that flash, but I know, sometimes it's difficult to see, and I know it's a pretty, there's big rigs going through that as well. So that'd be Gage and Ajax. And then the other location was, the other location I got feedback from a couple parents, and that was Suva and Loveland. I believe that there's only one, there's no, what do you call that, cross path to cross, and it's only going from east to west. It's not going north or south. So I know that was one of the suggestions, and I guess students just continually cross straight through. And it's not one of those that has a triple stop. It's only just one stop, and it's coming from Loveland to Suva. So that was the second suggestion for crossing guards. Yeah, those were my suggestions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councilmember Chavez. We can look at those as well.
Thank you.
I have a question for Mike. I know we discussed earlier some comments about traffic and maybe parking. Would you like me to save that for the comment at the end of the meeting, or should I go ahead?
Yeah, it's probably lines up better. I think.
Okay. Well, the only comment I have is that I remember the flag program that Public Works came up with, and even though it didn't work out, I have positive memories of it. So I wish it would have worked out.
Thank you.
I wonder, Mayor, if from staff's perspective, again, if we could get approval to at least get the amendment going, get the crossing guards hired, if we will then circle back with the school, police department, Public Works, come back with another list. And if we come back with a list and it looks like we need 2 or 3 more, we'll bring it to council to say, here's the list of the 8 that we think make the most sense. We can get the contract going at that point. And then if we need to add additional locations, we could at that time as well.
And this, you mentioned it also covers summer, right?
Yeah, so this would be for the rest of this dollar amount here would be for the rest of this school year through summer. And then the new school year would start in after the summer school, starting in the August timeframe.
I was just going to make potentially maybe we could just make a motion instead of just approving 8, can we just approve 10?
I think we can acknowledge 10, the additional cost on an annual basis. Grisel was about 20 or 22,000 per additional site.
It's about 68,000 for 8, so roughly say 9,000 each. So if you approve up to $90,000 to hire 10 crossing guards, that number should cover it.
Mike, do you think this is something that we can comfortably afford?
Yeah, I mean, we're still working on additional funding. I think that that's reasonable. I think the 8 we selected were, in an effort to be frugal as well. But I think with these additional sites being identified, that gives us some room. And obviously, if we could always come back to council and say for some reason we've discovered we don't need this. The school district says they're going to cover these other intersections. But I think that from a financial perspective is something that's doable. So I suppose it would be, the amendment would be to add 10 crossing guards at an additional annual amount of about $20,000.
The 10 crossing guards would cost approximately an additional appropriation of approximately $90,000 to cover March through June. And then next year's services, the cost would be about $44,000 a year more for the whole school year. So from $176,000, it'd be about $220,000.
And that's in addition to the original 7, right?
Right. The original 7 locations cost approximately $128,000. So if we added the 8 as is now, it would be roughly $204,000. I'm sorry, $304,000 would be the cost to add 8 additional locations total, the 7 and the 8 for 15 total guards. If we wanted to add an additional 10 to make it 17 crossing guards, that would be about $350,000 for the 1 year.
Yeah, so I think from an annual basis, some of this, the appropriation that we're asking for is just to cover for this fiscal year. So we just talk about it from an annual basis. We currently spend about $130,000. The cost would go up by another roughly $230,000, somewhere in that range. So we go from about $130,000 to about $330,000. We'd still seek additional funding, but obviously it's a significant cost increase, but at the same time, it's a significant improvement in the number of crossing guards. This is something that I think we can afford. It would be, this appropriation would get us through the fiscal year if we were to add another 20,000 to it. And obviously we would be performing analysis on this. We could bring this back after the first year to say, it seems like this wasn't necessary, or there wasn't value here, or there's some other financial, reason not to do it, or some safety reason not to do it at that point. So I think if the council would give us the authority to add 10 crossing guards instead of 8, we'll go back and look at the locations again and report those back to the council. And then at this time, we just need the additional appropriations as well too. So it's financially doable, and it seems like there's merit to it.
I feel comfortable making a motion to approve the contract and add a 10 additional crossing guards.
I'll go ahead and make a motion for staff's original recommendation of 8. I think we can reassess some of these crossing guards, move them around, and take the opposite approach of reevaluating over the summer to see if that was enough. And then in the summer, we can see if there's an appropriation we can make. It does seem like a lot of crossing guards to have. I think we're also complementing with traffic. And also, I think as parents, they also need to help us out in this issue of being more cautious when they're driving and dropping off their kids. So we have 2 motions on the floor. If anybody wants to second either Councilmember Chavez's motion or my motion, and then we'll take it to a vote. Or if there's additional motions.
I second your motion.
Okay. Any other seconds? Hearing none, the first motion dies. We'll take the second motion to a vote. City Clerk.
Councilmember Marcena,
Yes.
Councilmember Chavez.
Yes.
Councilwoman Pulido,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Sanchez. And Mayor Cortez.
Yes, for myself as well. Motion carries. City Manager, the next item.
Thanks again, Mayor Cortez. I think we still have the former item up on the screen there too. All right, thank you. Thanks, Alice. So the next item is really a reevaluation of the policy that we currently have for the in-person occupancy limits and mask wearing requirements. So the policy that was approved by the council stated that we would have 50% occupancy and we would have mask requirements. Since that time, the LA County COVID levels are in the category of low. We've stated in the staff report, depending on different municipalities, different jurisdictions, some have reduced capacity, some don't, some are requiring masks, some are not. Staff's recommendation at this time, is to not require masks, but we still encourage them. And also to not have the limitations that we've had previously. Also as an add-on to that, if the COVID levels were to increase back from the low within LA County, staff would bring an item back to council. Or if we were made aware of some sort of an increase related to our council meetings and the number of people here without masks, we would also bring an item back to council as well at that time. So it's basically staff's recommendation at this time that we rescind those limits and the mask wearing requirements, and we move them to encouragements as instead. Thank you, Mayor.
Questions, comments from the council on this item?
I just have a comment. I think because we've had so many presentations, we've had a number of students here and we haven't had them wear the mask. I think we should just move forward with the suggestion that staff is recommending.
I'd like to agree with Mayor Pro Tem. I believe our city attorney mentioned that the state is actually lifting the state of emergency this week.
Yeah.
So in line with the state, maybe we should follow in that. Any motions?
I make a motion to take staff recommendation to remove the mask and then the capacity here in the chambers as well for in person.
I'll second that motion. City Clerk, roll call.
Yes, Mayor, thank you. Councilmember Barcena,
Yes.
Councilmember Chavez,
Yes.
Councilwoman Pulido,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Sanchez,
Yes.
and Mayor Cortez.
Yes, motion carries. City Manager, next discussion item.
Thanks again, Mayor Cortez. This next item is a progress report on the rent stabilization and tenant eviction protections. This was an item that Councilmember Barcena requested at the last council meeting. So our goal is to give an update of the actions that have taken place since the adoption of the rent stabilization and tenant eviction protections ordinance that were passed by the council last year in 2022. As I think everybody on the council knows, even that weren't here, this was a large effort that was taken by the city over about a 12 to 18 month period of time. So with that, I'll turn it over to our Community Development Director, Gus Romo, to provide an update in the efforts in this areas. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. City Manager. Good evening, Honorable Mayor, members of the City Council. This is a receive and file report, and as Mike was saying, we're just giving you progress on the rent stabilization and tenant eviction protections ordinance that the council approved in September of 2022. That ordinance became effective on October 12th of 2022. So just to recap what the ordinance, there's two titles that were established. Chapter 5.62 for rent stabilization and Chapter 5.63 titled Tenant Eviction Protections. And the rent stabilization section or the chapter identified an annual rent increase limit of no more than 50% for inflation or 50% of the consumer price index, but no more than 4%, whichever was less. So if inflation happened to be 8%, then again, 4% would be the maximum. If inflation was 6%, 3% would be the maximum with no floor. Of course, if there was no CPI increase, then there would be no increase in rent as well. So since the program's inception, staff has assisted over 60 residents at the counter, as I've identified in the report, and also on the phone to understand their rights as it pertains to the new ordinance. We've reviewed a total of, 13 applications for contesting rent increases from tenants, and have also reviewed over 19 applications from landlords for an increase based on fair market rent. Presently, staff is reviewing 10 tenant petitions and 20 landlord applications. So this continues to come gradually, but we believe that eventually, as people get to know the ordinance more and more, that the application numbers are going to go up. So just to let you know, staff has also updated the city's website to inform tenants and landlords about the ordinance. And we've also had 2 public workshops since the inception of the ordinance. We're working right now on preparing standing meetings, standing hybrid workshops twice per month. We have a new staff member by the name of Veronica Armillo. Thanks to the city council, we created a new housing specialist position. We also started our new housing division part-time office assistant, Rosario Quirarte. She just began with us on February 6th, and she was hired to be able to assist Veronica with all the administrative tasks associated with this new ordinance, as well as creating additional housing programs in the future. So overall, staff has also referred over 30 residents to Stay Housed LA. This is for free legal eviction defense. If the council recalls, the city was successful in obtaining 2 years of the PLHA funds, or the Permanent Local Housing Allocation funds. We have a total of $924,000 in that. And the council back then elected to have half of that go towards legal aid for eviction defense. And again, some residents have taken advantage of that. Whenever you receive a notice of eviction, you can contact somebody from Stay Housed LA and get free legal advice. Of course, you have to be at that position to get the notice. So overall, the new housing division will continue to provide updates. And we also have a professional service agreement that's coming before you for the city's cost study. In order to implement the fees of the ordinance, we have to do a cost study. So we went through an RFP process. Staff has selected a consultant to recommend to the council. We'll be bringing the agreement to you on March 13th for consideration. The rental registry will continue to be developed. Right now, we are in the process of getting people, or landlords, I should say, to apply for this. And all the housing providers should be on board, hopefully by the end of the year. However, the registry itself won't be charged until the cost study is completed. So that concludes my report. If there's any other questions, I'm here. Also, we have our city attorney who helped us with the ordinance, Norma Tabares, on the line. Thank you.
Questions by council?
Yes, I do have a question. So part of the reason why I asked for this item is that we did have a few residents who were experiencing hardships with their landlords, asking them for rent increases that were beyond the threshold. We as a city helped them, and I'm very happy about that. But it also led me to think maybe there is a way we can better promote this ordinance. I know that we've been promoting it, but is there maybe a I don't want to call it marketing package, or some type of promotional plan that we can do to roll out all these new rules that we have, and do it in a way that is very simple and easy for residents that usually encounter these problems to become aware of the type of help that's accessible to them through the city. And also maybe the numbers, right? I mean, the numbers are simple. It's 4% cap, right? Like maybe we can do some flyers, maybe we can do some social media that revolves around those limits. That way people become educated. I know one of our biggest challenges here in the city of Bell Gardens is our education levels. they're very low, right? In the county, they rank almost all the way at the bottom. So we can't expect people to all of a sudden learn how to read a complex flyer or anything like that. We have to make it accessible for them. So can we put something together, keeping that in mind? I would like for us to try to do that.
Absolutely, council member. In the past, what we've done is through social media and through the city's website, identified the ordinance and the workshops. But we can put together a flyer and send it out to the various tenants, also to the property owners. A lot of times too is residents sometimes are hesitant to come to staff because they feel that maybe their property owner will find out and take it out on them. But we have to let them know that they need to tell us if something is happening so that we can then contact the property owner. We've had situations where somebody has, let's say, increased beyond what they're supposed to. And once we get in contact with the owner, they realize, oh, there's an ordinance. Okay, I'll fix it. And then they redo their their notice so that they're below the threshold. But you're correct. It's a continuing education. And we'd be happy to put together something that we could do as a mail out. And we are in the process of doing mid-year budget. So we can identify the cost for those mailers. And a lot of times you're correct that social media is not available to everyone. So some people prefer to have it physically mailed to them. So we'd be happy to do that.
Thank you, Gus. Madam Mayor, I just want to add some remarks. I just want to thank Gus because my experience with Gus working on this is that when he connects with residents, like honestly, they do feel that trust and they feel like they're being helped. And I just want to make sure, I know that Gus is not always going to be able to talk to every resident that encounters this problem. So I want to be able to transmit that same message to a broader audience through the help of some flyers or social media or just a little bit more targeted marketing.
Thank you, sir.
The question I have, when the ordinance was put in place, how were the landowners informed about the ordinance and how were the tenants informed about the ordinance other than social media?
There was a mailer that was sent out to all property owners. And also on the city's website, we had identified workshops to get people to know the ordinance. So we held 2 workshops. We had a good attendance from both tenants and the property owners. And we explained what the ordinance was about because there was a lot of misconceptions about what the ordinance did and did not. We also had our city attorney there to answer the legal questions.
So Gus, just I think even to be specific on the mailers, because we basically have a database of all the addresses in the city of Bell Gardens. I'm not sure that we're able to distinguish which ones are owner occupied versus which ones are renters. So can you remind the council and myself, did we send the letters pretty much to all the residential addresses in the city, or were we somehow able to separate out those that we knew had property owners that were renting out the units?
We couldn't distinguish it. It was just sent to the property owners. And in some cases, what we needed to do was identify residents also. So it could be that property owners got that and the residents or the tenants may have not. So I believe the best thing to do is to try to do it through the, we're talking about doing it with a refuse company with their bill so that everybody gets a copy of it. And it would be more cost efficient to do it that way also.
So I think kind of to summarize it for the Mayor Pro Tem, direct mailing, workshops, public notices for all of the hearings that went into it, social media. And, I think even with all of those efforts, I'm not sure of what the actual adoption or understanding or reception rate. Some property owners may have received it and thrown it away. So I think that was part of us hiring the housing specialist was to continue to try to outreach, as Councilmember Barcena says, regarding promotional material. I think there's 2 sides of the promotional material. There's that for the renter and then that for the the landlord. And I think there's additional work that we can continue doing to try to get that word out there beyond what we've already done. I'm sure we've sent something to everybody. It's just a matter of how many of those people actually received it, or of the frame of mind for it to mean something to them at that point in time, and really be cognizant about it. It's I'm sure it's not 100%. It's probably in the 25-30% be my guess.
And one other thing that we have is the frequently asked questions on the website for the ordinance. But we could also do a hard copy of that to include with the ordinance when you send it out, because it simplifies things, when you're putting the question out there and the answer that follows.
Thank you for that. And the reason that I asked those questions was because I know that there's many, whether they're tenants or, landowners that weren't aware of the ordinance. And so I wanted to know, what outreach have we done to make sure that we are informing people and educating them on everything, as much as possible. Because you're right, not everybody goes on social media. So just wanted to make sure we're trying to do every effort possible to inform everyone on both sides.
And one last suggestion, this is just for your consideration. Very, very short videos for social media tend to be effective. So if you guys can do that, that might be able to help. Because even sometimes when people have access to social media, it's just so saturated that, so I would suggest that if possible.
Absolutely, sir. We'll give that a shot. I think putting together something like we did with the Calhoun grant, where you have maybe some cartoon illustrations and so forth, something that makes it more attractive for people to want to view the video. Well, we're definitely going to talk about that with staff.
Thank you so much, Gus, for the update on rent control and where we are. My question, or perhaps a suggestion I also have, is perhaps, how we have the Bell Gardens today. Why not just have like a little slot within that book that everyone tends to pay attention to, that just kind of advertises that, about rent control here in the city, right? Ideally what I had in mind was just the same way the process we use to send out Bell Gardens today, we use to send out some sort of form or some sort of official letter on behalf of the city, that a tenant can use as sort of way to show proof to the landowner. Because I don't think it's not so much that tenants don't know about the ordinance, it's more so that landowners don't perhaps believe it, or don't trust it, or don't think it's official. That's the sort of conversation that I continually hear when I have residents reach out to me. I showed them the social media post, but they don't believe it, and then that's at that point where I redirect them back to you. So I think if there was some sort of official form was sent on behalf of the city to every household here in the city, I think that'd definitely be informative. The next step that I can think of is to the point of canvassing or something, the whole city, and just kind of like informing everybody, knocking door to door, informing people about this sort of ordinance, right? Now I know that's extreme level, but I'm trying to think. We've done mails, we've done social media, I'm assuming we're advertising as well on the billboard. We've stretched thin when it comes to really putting it out there. You turn on the news, we've had news media also cover this. So we've really exhausted all of it. The next thing I can think of is literally having, I don't know, rec staff or something go out there and just canvass the neighborhoods. Just like I know that they've done for some events. They like the little community block parties that we had for Marlowe Park and for Julia Asmus. They canvassed the little neighborhoods, right? And that worked. So I don't know, that's the next thing. So yeah, that's what I wanted to share. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
One last thing. So maybe not as drastic as canvassing, but an idea would also be whatever flyers or kind of catchy short media creations we put together, maybe those can take a central part of like the tabling that we're going to be doing at community events, right? Maybe a good portion of that table will just be like rent control, right? So, maybe it's not canvassing, but a little bit more of a direct outreach.
We can talk about putting together a brochure specific to the ordinance and identifying the different resources there also with Stay House LA and so forth. Thank you.
Maybe tabling at our events. That's another option, right? Tabling at all, I know the summer's coming around. We're gonna have we're gonna have the movies and the concerts again. So maybe having them set up a table, that's always good. And I know we get hundreds and hundreds of people to come out to those events. Even the holiday events, right? Fiestas Patrias, and other events that we have, Halloween festival, definitely have them out there tabling. We get hundreds, if not thousands of people to come out. So that's always great.
Perfect. Thank you for those ideas. We'll definitely put them into action. I'm going to be meeting with our staff tomorrow on this.
Any other questions, comments from the city council? I'll take a motion to receive and file.
I'll second.
Moved by Barcena, seconded by Chavez. City clerk, roll call, please.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Member of the council, Barcena,
Yes.
Councilmember Chavez,
Yes.
Councilwoman Pulido,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Sanchez,
Yes.
and Mayor Cortez.
Yes. Motion carries. Moving on to city council successor agency member comments. Councilmember Barcena.
Oh, you caught me by surprise there, but I think I've already talked too much this whole meeting. So I just want to say thank you everyone for your work. And we'll see you at the next meeting. Have a good night.
Councilmember Chavez.
Real quick, thank you so much for our colleagues, and for all the students that were here earlier, and staff for this meeting and this information that was presented to us. I think it's been a while since we've gone all the way to like 8:30. So it's great to see that a lot of information was discussed here. Briefly, I do want to touch on a couple of things. Since our last meeting, as a council, I know that we've had there was an event that came up last minute, or a resident that had reached out to me, and it was very interesting, the story, right? So he said that his name was I don't even want to butcher his name, but essentially he's gonna bike ride all the way to Ciudad Obregón, Sonora, from Bell Gardens, right? So I remember I reached out to Mike, I reached out to Elizabeth, I said, hey, this is a Bell Gardens resident who's gonna bike it all the way to Mexico. It's in a 2 to 3 week span. Can we do something about, sharing it? I saw it was on social media. We put it out there. He also had a booth set up at the farmer's market. So I just want to say thank you so much for staff for setting that up. And again, the story behind, he said he had to tener que pagar una manda. So he had to do something. It was great to see that. So again, I really appreciate that. And it was very last minute, like maybe within a week turnaround. So being able to set that up, I really appreciate that. Other than that, I got to attend a couple of meetings within the last 2 weeks. There was a Contract Cities Association meeting. It was in Monterey Park. We got to recognize Brandon Say from Monterey Park. He is literally a true hero, where he stopped the gunman from going out and doing another massacre in the city of Alhambra, actually. So he's a resident of Monterey Park. So it was just incredible to meet him and hear his story, being in the same room with him and sort of get what was going through his mind as he was, literally stopping a gunman, right? So true honor to meet him. This last weekend, there was a swearing in for our congressman, Robert Garcia. So it was great to see that great to be there and represent Bell Gardens. I know Councilmember Barcena was also in attendance. It was a great representation, not just of Bell Gardens, but of Southeast LA, Sala. So that's what it's about, making sure that we have a seat at that table. He knows that we're here representing our communities, and we want to make sure we have good communication and a good relationship. Ultimately, hope everyone is staying safe. Right now, there's crazy weather. We just had one of the biggest storms in like decades or something. So yeah, I saw hell going out here in Bell Gardens. That was a trip. So I had never seen that. So yeah, stay safe, everyone. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Take care.
Councilwoman Pulido.
No comments from me.
Mayor Pro Tem.
None for me.
So sorry, but I do have something else. I just want to invite the council and also consult with legal. We're going to have a Toastmasters meeting coming up. I had a meeting last week that involved some nonprofit organizations, so I limited my invitation to Mayor Pro Tem, who attended the meeting. However, this meeting for Toastmasters is a little bit more general. It's a club meeting. It's open to the public, and there will be no city business discussed at all. Would it be fine if I invite the entire council?
Yes, as long as no city business discussed.
Okay, thank you so much. Well, there you go. Everyone is invited to the meeting. And thank you, Francis, for stopping by as the mayor pro tem of our city of Bell Gardens to the previous meeting. I think it was a great show of support from the community and from the council as well. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us tonight. I'm going to go ahead